Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So we're coming back to Thunder Dragonpunk, which I just debuted a few days ago on the channel, but I've been having a lot of fun playing with, and I considered taking it to MCS Week 15, but ultimately decided against it, just because while this variant is good and actually very close to the same power level as the Spright Punk variant that I've been playing a lot with lately as well. The main difference between the two, and I think this does end up making Thunder Dragonpunk a little bit weaker, is just the fact that the deck is more combo focused in its inclusion of the Thunder Dragon engine, whereas the Spright engine is more like, it's still like a part of a combo line, but the Spright engine is also independently good if you get disrupted. Whereas if your Punk line gets disrupted in this deck, the Thunder Dragons typically are not going to be like good fallback plays. They won't generate any live fallback plays for you to be able to come back with. So I think for that reason, Spright Punk actually does end up being a little bit stronger, just for its ability to play through disruptions better, and also play like dead / bricky hands slightly better as well. But I will say that Thunder Dragonpunk does definitely feel like it has more combo potential. I was actually kind of brewing this a little bit, not only independently, but also on stream recently, last night at the time of recording this. So I don't have a set stream schedule. That is something that people ask me, but I've been streaming, a fair bit more often lately. So if you want to get notifications of that, I would definitely recommend checking out the description below. There you'll find links to not only my Twitch, where you could follow me, but also my Twitter, because I will always tweet at least a couple hours in advance before I stream. So feel free to follow me on either or both platforms. And yeah, without further ado, let's just go ahead and talk a little bit more about this deck and some of the changes that I've made. So allures are out, as you may have noticed. We are playing a few other kind of techie cards instead. I think that's actually the only difference in the main deck from last time I featured this. Was instead of 3 allure, we're playing 1 Foolish Burial, as well as a 3rd Thunder Dragonroar. We were initially only playing 2. We're playing both these for the same reason. I found as I kept playing this deck that Thunder Dragonroar is actually the card you want to have access to pretty much all the time, in addition to Assault Synchron and Noh-P.U.N.K Amin. Whether it's having this card in hand to discard it with the Foxy tune, or just setting it up in graveyard with Foolish Burial, or off the Chaos Ruler mill, or the Gold Sarcophagus as well to excavate it. Putting the extra body on board, the Thunder Dragondark, doesn't just allow you to go for Colossus, it actually allows you to extend your plays even further than that. So we're going to explore that combo line. I'll show you that here in the first duel we end up featuring here. And these duels, by the way, are all going to be from the WCQ event, the Duelist Cup type event. So the other card that I added, which I'm having mixed results with, I don't know about mixed results, but I added a Jet Synchron just to kind of see how it would do, because it opens up some additional synchro options for us. As you can see, we are now including a hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. We technically actually didn't need Jet Synchron to make this. You can make a Shooting Riser Dragon, send a Thunder Dragonroar, which is level 6, to make this level 1, and then potentially sync this with Chaos Ruler. But the Jet Synchron plus Chaos Ruler is obviously the easier way to make the hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. The thing about Jet Synchron, though, is that we don't have the easiest time setting it up. Basically, the best ways to set up, really the only ways to set it up, are to hope to mill it off of Chaos Ruler, to send it off of Foolish if you already have access to a Thunder Dragon monster, or to add it with tuning if you already have Assault Synchron, and then discard it with Foxy Tune. The problem is that all of those are all pretty situational, so this card ends up being pretty situationally good. You also don't always want to be sending a card from your hand to the graveyard to bring this back. Sometimes you just can't, like, you don't have the hand room, you just can't afford it. This variant can definitely get away with it better than like the Spright variant can, but it's still very up in the air. I wouldn't say that Jet Synchron is optimal. It's just something I've been testing. I wanted to include it in this build because I don't remember actually off the top of my head if it ended up coming up during any of the games I'm going to show you. So, but it's not something I'm like conclusively saying should be in this variant. But yeah, I don't know. I've been having a lot of fun just playing around with Assault Synchron. and the Punk cards in general. I do think there is a lot of potential there, and yeah, I'm going to keep playing around with them with this deck, with the Spright build, and just keep exploring other options with Assault Synchron as well. So that's going to go ahead and cover the list here. Oh no, the extra deck. No, sorry, I already covered the change, right? The major change of including the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss also included a second Spright Elf. It does not come up very often at all, but very occasionally you can do a combo line where a second one is actually like needed, because sometimes you end up sacking this off actually to summon the Colossus, because this is a thunder monster. So if you activate one of the Thunder Dragons in hand effects during your turn, and then at some point make a Spright Elf, you can potentially summon a Colossus by sacking it off, and then make a second Spright Elf to target protect the Colossus there. So that's pretty much the major changes there. So, alright, now that's everything. Let's cover the list card by card, and then we'll look at some gameplay from the latest event. So, in this build, we're playing 1 Jet Synchron, 3 Maxx, 3 Assault Synchron, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Amin, 3 Thunder Dragondark, 2 Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note, 1 Thunder Dragonhawk, 3 Thunder Dragonroar, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Foxy Tune, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Ogre Dance, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Gold Sarcophagus, 3 Tuning, 2 Emergency Teleport, 2 Called by the Grave, and 3 Infinite Impermanence. There's our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Thunder Dragon Colossus, 1 Shooting Riser Dragon, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, 1 Psychic, I almost said Psychic, wow, 1 Psychic and Punisher, 1 number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, 1 the Zombie Vampire, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Cross Sheep, 2 Spright Elf, and then 1 Knightmare Unicorn. So that's going to do it for our list. Now let's go and take a look at some games. Alright, so I don't recall exactly what we're up against for this first game, but I do recall, if this is the game I'm thinking of, that we actually get to go first and show off the new combo line that I've cooked up with this variant. So I'll go ahead and get to show you that here. So this is like the God hand. This is like the do whatever you want hand. But what you mainly need to achieve the combo line I'm going to show you is Assault Synchron, Noh-P.U.N.K Amin, and Thunder Dragonroar. You don't necessarily have to open the Thunder Dragonroar. Again, we can excavate this off of the Chaos Ruler as well. Well, you don't want to add it to hand. You want to send it to the graveyard, but we can find that that way as well. Technically also true of Assault Synchron, but that's just a little bit less consistent. But in any case, so I'll start off with tuning just to test and see if my opponent has an Ash Blossom. Does it seem like they do? We're going to add Jet Synchron here, but I still want to discard the Thunder Dragonroar with the Foxy Tune. So normal Amin, discard Foxy Tune and Thunder Dragonroar to special Deer Note from deck. Now we're going to sync those two for the Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, activating the Excavate effect as well as Deer Note's effect to bring back the Amin. So far, this is all pretty similar to stuff we do in Spright Punk as well, except we just have the Thunder Dragonroar as well. Alright, excavating our top 5. It doesn't really matter what we add here, I'll just add the Ogre Dance. Thunder Dragons I typically like to put in the graveyard so they can be banished more easily. Now I'll special Assault Synchron, syncing it and the Chaos Ruler in order to make the level 10 Baronne de Fleur. Gonna go ahead and throw that right over there. Now Chaos Ruler is going to excavate the Foxy Tune and Thunder Dragonroar, specifically Roar, to bring itself back. Thunder Dragonroar's effect activates to bring out the level 5 Thunder Dragondark. Now we can go 3 plus 5 into 8, makes Accel Synchro Stardust. That not only brings back the Assault Synchron, but also activates Thunder Dragonroar's effect to add Thunder Dragonhawk to our hand now. Alright, here's that Accel Synchron. Now you might think we're going to sync for 10, but we're actually going to link. We're going to link Assault Synchron and Accel into Cross Sheep. That looks really weird, but you'll see why we're going to do that here in just a moment. Now we're going to discard the Thunder Dragonhawk, bringing back the Roar. Go ahead and tribute that to summon the Thunder Dragon Colossus in Cross Sheep Zone. That will activate the effect to bring back Amin and boost all of our monsters. Amin and Amin and Chaos Ruler will now sync for Pep. That will activate Assault Synchron's effect, bringing back the Chaos Ruler. And finally, we can link off the Chaos Ruler and the Cross Sheep in order to make the Spright Elf that will offer our Baron and our Thunder Dragon Colossus targeting protection. So there you go. Now again, the starting line to end on this board state is Assault Synchron and Amin in hand, and then just access the Thunder Dragonroar at some point. Again, technically, you could also excavate the Assault Synchron off the Chaos Ruler. So it's a bit of a 3-card combo. I like to think of it more as a 2.5-card combo because we do have assistance from the Chaos Ruler Excavate to really smooth out the consistency of opening with this line as well. In my testing, going first, it's not that hard to open with a line like this. And as you can see, it's quite a formidable board state. We have the Omni Negate in the form of Baron. Thunder Dragon Colossus will prevent our opponent effectively from searching cards. Spright Elf, as mentioned, will prevent either of these cards from being targeted, but with effects like Infinite Impermanence that might negate them. And then we have a Psychic End Punisher. That's a big monster that is unaffected by our opponent's activated card effects as well. And then we even got to set a Call by the Grave on top of it for good measure. So yeah, can't ask for a much better opening state than that. We end up being against Swordsoul Chengying here, so they're definitely going to have a little bit more trouble than something like Tier Limit might outing this board state. Although Tier Limit would definitely find themselves a bit hard-pressed to out a board state like this as well, to be totally honest. Now, because our opponent has a monster on board, we can use Spright Elf to bring back the Cross Sheep. It's my only target, so I figured I'd just go ahead and get it back here. Opponent's going to sink for 8 and make the Bashia. And I know that their targets are going to be the Spright Elf and the Psychic End Punisher, so I'm actually just going to allow this Bashia to resolve. I'm really holding on to my Baron Negate here, because I think it's going to be crucial to time this Baron Negate very well in order to make sure I go through the rest of this turn unscathed. So one way to preserve the Baron Negate, particularly here, is as soon as the Bashia effect was done resolving, I wanted to fire off the Call by the Grave, banishing a Vishuddha from my opponent's graveyard, because I didn't want them to be able to banish the Baron. It is a loss to the targeting protection of Spright Elf, but that's one of the reasons why I let the Bashia effect resolve, because all I was going to lose was Spright Elf, again, Psychic End Punisher, unaffected by Bashia's activated effect, and I knew I could save my Baron from getting bounced by a Vishuddha, and also save its Omni Negate effect by using Call by here, so I'm going to do just that. Opponent's going to trigger the Adhara to wheel back that Vishuddha, but ultimately not going to be good enough as they go to try to activate the effect here from hand that is still going to be negated, and as a result will not be bouncing the Baron. So opponent's going to summon Moye, and they reveal Longyan here. Now here's the interesting thing, right? I'm going to let the Moye resolve. Had they revealed a different Worm or Swordsoul card that wasn't Longyan, I would have used Baron to negate and destroy the Moye here. But I actually ultimately ended up letting it resolve, and there are a few reasons for that. One is that, the main one honestly, is that if my opponent is going to be activating the Longyan, like if their last card in hand is actually a Swordsoul or Worm card to activate Longyan, and I've already used my Baron's Omni Negate, that's really bad for me. There are a lot of level 10 Synchros, the least of which is their own Baron, but more likely their Chengying, that could really mess me up here. The other reason is that, yes, my opponent can sink for 8 now, but I'm not particularly threatened by any level 8 my opponent could go for. If they go for a Chi-Shao, they can't search because of Colossus. If they go for another Bashia, I'll just negate and destroy that. And then if they go for a Draco Berserker, I'll negate and destroy the effect that activates when they try to battle. And it ends up being Draco Berserker of the Tenyi is what they ultimately end up going for here. I'm a little nervous about this Moye draw, but they actually did not have a target for Longyan, thankfully, so Berserker's going to battle over Cross Sheep and attempt to activate, but now I'll use my Baron's Negate. And I do think it was crucial to hold the Baron Negate for as long as possible, particularly in this board state. So now my opponent's going to run their monsters into mine to make their life points lower, but fun fact, they actually did not have to do that for Evenly Matched. It's true that Psychic End Punisher is unaffected by the activated effects of my opponent's cards, but Evenly Matched, it's a ruling thing, right? So technically, when a card is banished by Evenly Matched, it's not banished by the activated effect of Evenly Matched, it's banished by the player who's deciding what to banish face down. So for that reason, my opponent actually did not need to run their stuff into mine to make their life points lower. Evenly Matched still would have affected Pep, but I still would have banished Pep to keep the Colossus here, just in case my opponent has like a Swordsoul Emergence or something at the last second. But I think if they had it, they would have already activated it. But in any case, it's going to go ahead and win me the game there. So again, just wanted to start by showing off a fairly standard combo line that this deck is capable of achieving. So let's go straight into our next game here. Alright, now unfortunately, as usual, because, or not as usual, but because we are in a Duelist Cup-like event, the usual rule applies where I am not able to look at my opponent's decks before the replay begins. So let's just go ahead and go straight into this next game and see what we're up against. We are taking the first turn here. We have access to Amin and Assault Synchron. So at the very least, even if we don't see any Thunder Dragons, we can end on Baronne, Pep, and Chaos Ruler, which to me seems like a good enough bare minimum board. Ooh, opponent's going to activate Kelbeck, so they're probably on tier limits. The Kelbeck is really annoying, but thankfully, because we're playing 2 Deer Notes here, we can just use the Foxy tune, we haven't used her effect yet, to just special summon the other Deer Note from our deck. So now we get to Synchro Summon for the Chaos Ruler, activating its Excavate effect, and of course the Deer Note effect to bring back our Amin as well. I think I might have said in the last video that some combo lines in this deck want you to bring back one of the 8s and not Amin, but I have not found that to be true for this latest variant. I find that bringing back Amin is still pretty much always right. So no Thunder Dragons here, but we can still add an Ogre Dance for potential use on the next turn. Like I said, even though we do not hit a Thunder Dragon monster, we can still end on Baronne, Pep, Chaos Ruler, which an Omnigate plus the towers can still be very difficult for a lot of decks, even tier limits, to deal with. Indeed, that's also, or not also, that's a lot of why I actually ended up kind of tinkering with this engine so much, is because of its ability to make Pep so very easily. And just, again, the fact that a lot of tier limit decks are not even really playing consistent outs to this card. Granted, they can still like run their monsters into yours to make their life points lower, but if that's your out, I mean, that's generally speaking pretty fine by me. So opponent's going to activate Keldo, pitching Agido. I could have chained the Baron to negate Keldo, and sometimes I like to do that, but at the same time, I want to keep my options open here, particularly against this Agido. The opponent is actually going to chain a Heartbeat in response to having priority pass back to them. So now I'm just going to fire off the call by and target the Agido that's in the graveyard. I don't know why I forgot to. I don't know why I forgot its name. It was right there, but. Alright, so Call by is going to banish Agido. This is crucial. As a non-tier limit deck, you definitely want to be negating their millers as much as possible. It is very crucial to negate those. Opponent's going to use Chiron's effect. I'm going to chain Baron's effect. Now, that will negate and destroy it, so you may be thinking, well, isn't that just going to trigger Chiron's effect to fuse? It will if they happen to have a tier limit monster as their last card. And I don't think that's particularly likely, because they don't have any tier limit monsters in Graves, so we know one of the cards in hand that we're not seeing here is the Mudora they just searched. So unless the card in hand is exactly a tier limit monster, it would not be Rhinoheart, because I imagine you would just normal summon Rhinoheart if you had it. So unless it's exactly Merle, Havnus, or another Chiron, I don't think anything's going to happen here, and that is a chance I'm willing to take. So negating and destroying the Chiron, and they do not get to activate the effect. So they're just going to normal summon the Mudora, go for a rank 4. It's going to be a Baguska here to stall my board down. Now, Psychic and Punisher is only immune to activated effects, so Baguska's continuous effect to turn my monsters to defense mode, negate their effects, they still get to use that. So I do have an out here. It's going to be a little bit weird, but I do have an out. I'm going to normal summon Amin and go for Cross Sheep. After that, I'm going to go for Chaos Ruler. Now, unfortunately, I do have to banish the Ogre Dance in my hand as a Dark in order to summon it, but now I get to buff my monsters. That's not particularly relevant, but I get to go for the Knightmare Unicorn. Now, I don't actually have a card to discard to put back the Baguska, unfortunately, for lethal, but I can still battle over Baguska with my Link monster that cannot be turned to defense mode. So turn my stuff back to attack mode. I'll use Baron to blow up the Gravekeeper's trap, and then pass back to my opponent, who is now in top deck mode, and ultimately ends up conceding. So there you have a nice game against tier limits. We didn't even actually have an optimal turn 1 combo line. We did encounter a little bit of difficulties, but with some well-timed disruption, we were still able to pull ahead and defeat them. So that's going to do it for that game. Let's go ahead and go on to our next one. I'm trying to remember what this deck was. My opponent's name is Tier 0 Scum, but they weren't on tier limits, I remember that much. I think a lot of people who have names like that are definitely not on tier limits. People who try to be a little bit too heads up. I imagine if we were allowed to use our own boards and sleeves here, my opponent would have like the water board with Tearlament sleeves as well. I'm just guessing, but this hand is not looking too bad. We have Punk and a Thunder Dragon access, so definitely not looking too shabby there at all. Now this line is going to be a little bit weird because Foxy Tune actually does not really generate plays by itself. So what I'm going to have to do is use Gold Sarp to send Thunder Dragonroar, and then summon Thunder Dragondark and use that to make plays. My opponent's got a Maxx, but I'll just go ahead and fire off the Ash Blossom here. Yeah, because if we look back at our opening hand... Whoop, sorry about that. Yeah, if we look back at our opening hand... yeah, Foxy Tune by itself, like... The problem is, like, you can get Foxy Tune, like, you can get Amin off Foxy Tune, but then you can't get Deer Note off of Foxy Tune later because you've obviously used Foxy Tune's once per turn effect already. But thanks to the Gold Sark, again, we're able to find Thunder Dragondark and still go for a Chaos Ruler play anyway. And we even get to end up sending the Deer Note to the graveyard to bring back the Zaamid here. Oh no, that's right, because we Tribute Summoned for the Deer Note. That's right, that's right. That's how we did it. I was kind of like, wait, what? How'd that work out? But no, that's right. So we get to make Pep here and then use Thunder Dragonhawk to add a Thunder Dragon Colossus. So again, not quite the full combo we showed off in that first game, but still having the towers and having the opponent not be able to search at all is very, very good. Oh my god, that's right, they were on Amazoness. It's not often I feel like I'm bullying a deck playing a brew like this, but I don't know many decks I would play against Amazoness that I wouldn't feel like I was bullying them, to be totally honest. Like, it's just... Anyway, so... Let's go do some battling here. I was going to let them summon... That's the thing here. Like, they get to summon monsters from deck and stuff, but, like... It's just not enough. It's just not enough. Granted, the Colossus is stopping, I think, at least some amount of searching here. It's making them have to make suboptimal plays, but I don't know. To be fair, I don't know much about Amazoness, but I don't know how much better their plays would be if I didn't have the Colossus on the board. I don't know if they would be much better, is what I'm getting at, so... In any case, let's go ahead and use the Ogre Dance for Zaamid. Opponent gets to bring back their baby tiger. That's fine. I don't really care about the Pendulum Monster being in the zone. Like, all the effects are battle-based. That's the problem with Amazoness, is that the entire identity of the archetype is all these effects that really care about, like, battling. But, you know, the last few years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Have shown us that relying on battling just does not make for a solid archetype, like, strategy right now. Like, or, I mean, again, it hasn't for a few years now. Quite a few years, honestly, but... Yeah, I don't know. It's just sad. It's sad that a card is just limited by the power of the overall format. Or not a card, but an archetype, a whole deck, is just limited by the power level of the format, and it's just impossible for it to keep up. Like, even with newer support, like, Amazoness very recently got support, and it's still... I mean, it's not, like, unplayable by any means, but it's definitely not good, I'll say that much. Yeah, not quite able to take the game this turn, but I mean, we can leave them with pretty much nothing on board and also set up an IP Masquerena. Still have the Colossus in play as well, so still no searching on the opponent's part. That's the cool thing about Psychic End Punisher too, is that this attack gain is just going to keep stacking every battle phase my opponent goes into. It's sad, I feel like I'm doing the battle phase gimmick better than my opponent does with just my Psychic End Punisher. But finally, they're going to go for Poly, I'm going to negate with Baron, and I believe that's going to get the concede here, as, you know, my opponent does not really have any follow-up plays after that. Alright, we have that duel there against Amazoness. We have one more game to jump into, so let's go straight into it. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue what this matchup was. I want to say it was like Flow or Exo, one of those two, but I could be wrong. I feel like I'm wrong about that. We'll see. That's just my fancy way of saying I don't know. But we're going to be going second this time around. We do open an Imperm, so we do have at least that going for us here. Oh no, it was a Thunder Dragon mirror match. It was far from Flow or Exo. So opponent's going to start with the Aloof Lupine, banishing Thunder Dragonroar and a Dark. I decided not to Imperm the Lupine because they had already banished from hand anyway, so it didn't feel like there was like too much of a point to, you know, stopping the banish from deck as well. Fusing for the Thunder Dragon Titan. Yeah, I considered maybe like teching one Thunder Dragon fusion and putting a Titan in my extra deck as well, but it's just not what this deck is trying to do with Thunder Dragons. It also doesn't seem particularly consistent, so very glad I held this Imperm as my opponent's now trying to do branded plays, but I'll just fire off the Imperm against this Lubellion, and that's going to severely limit the amount of disruption my opponent has. They might be able to blow up one of my cards with Titan during my turn, but even then that's still like an if. I think they do actually still have, yeah, they should still have the Matrix in their hand. The Thunder Dragon Matrix, that is. I'm going to summon Amin, activate the effect for Foxy Tune, or no, it's Thunder Dragondark, not Matrix, but that will proc the Thunder Dragon Titan effect to blow up the onboard Amin, but we actually still end up having plays here with the Assault Synchron and the Thunder Dragondark. Well, I guess with the Deer Note and the Assault Synchron, because the effect to summons is still going to resolve. So here is where Shooting Riser Dragon comes up. Shooting Riser does not come up often in this deck, but for pretty much exactly situations like this it can, where we can potentially make a 10 or a 9 with it as well. We would need access to Chaos Roar to make the 9, but here we do get to make a 10. I'm going to make the Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, banish the Thunder Dragondark out of my opponent's graveyard with Call by the Grave that will proc the Chengying effect to banish my opponent's Thunder Dragon Titan, and then their Fallen of Albaz out of the graveyard as well. Gonna battle over the Lubellion here, leaving just my opponent's Aloof Lupine. Didn't want to destroy it and proc the effect unnecessarily before passing back to my opponent. So ideally, of course, I would like more than only Chengying here, but it's still ultimately gonna be fine. Who's gonna banish Thunder Dragon Fusion? I will fire off my Chengying's effect to banish the Aloof Lupine as well as the Lubellion out of their graveyard. And like, yeah, they get to Thunder Dragonhawk and then Colossus here, but you know, they're nowhere near able to battle over my Chengying at this point, and because I use Call By on Thunder Dragondark, that's ultimately going to get negated there. So, battle phase, I'll just battle into the Colossus. That'll of course activate the effect. That was actually a misplay on my part. I thought I was going to get the activation of Chengying, but I missed the important line of text in the brackets there, except during the damage step, which I do think is when that activated, but I don't know exactly. Anyway, Thunder Dragon Fusion is coming down here, but even then, my monster is still more powerful than their Thunder Dragon Titan, so I don't feel particularly intimidated by it. And even if they try to destroy it with the card effect here, like, I can just activate the protection effect and then start banishing their stuff anyway, which is actually exactly what ended up happening. I also, as a fun little side note, get to banish my own Thunder Dragondark from my graveyard here. Oh no, I don't get to activate the effect. I thought I did. I must be out of targets or something. Anyway, we top deck a Thunder Dragonhawk, which is nice. Opponent's got a Maxx, but thankfully we top deck this Ash Blossom last turn and we don't end up having to use it here, so I get just fired off against my opponent's Maxx. Oh, they have the Call By though. That's going to be a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm not particularly concerned about this Maxx because I don't think I'm going to have too much trouble finding lethal here. It honestly, if I recall correctly, it might not even be a matter of like finding lethal, but that's right, because my opponent's going to use the Titan to blow up my Thunder Dragondark here. But because they banish, I still get to activate my monster's effect. Yeah, and banish their Titan. Oh, and then I get to proc my own Thunder Dragondark effect, and that's where they end up conceding. Gotcha. So, yeah, I wasn't going to win the duel on that turn, but I guess I was still far enough ahead that my opponent ultimately just decided to go ahead and give the win there. So, that is going to go ahead and do it for our games. I hope you're enjoying this variant, these Punk variants in general. I've been having a lot of fun playing with them and cooking with them and just messing around. So, hope you've all been enjoying them as well, but that's going to do it for our games. Thanks for watching them. Let's move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Accel. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.